News 3 at 11.
How to spot and prevent gang violence, how city leaders are spreading awareness on this issue. Now at 11, how violence is impacting the area and how families can protect their own. Welcome to News 3 at 11. I'm Leondra and thanks for joining us tonight. We got a lot to get to, but first we want to start off with our top stories that we're following today. Tonight, the search for one more suspect while a family in Portsmouth mourning the loss of a 10-year-old. Arvis Scott says his 10-year-old son, Keandre Thornhill, was looking out of his bedroom window when he was struck by a stray bullet. This happened Friday night following an escalated dispute with teenage girls outside of the home. Here's a question for you. Can you dig it? Well, Mary the Boring Machine can. New details tonight from Virginia Beach's police chief on a shooting that killed a 15-year-old girl at Mount Trashmore Park. Residents who live here say shots were fired into their car, including this Mercedes sedan. One shot right there, another shot right here. You can see evidence markers are still here. And as we make our way back here, another resident's car was shot out as well. This Jeep SUV. Bullet hole right there. Also another one here on the tail light. Evidence markers still remain. Not many people were on the roads, which is a good thing. That means many people are inside and staying warm, but there are a few people out here tonight doing snow angels in the snow. We're actually in the parking lot of Cinema Cafe in Chesapeake, and these guys, they came out of a movie in the movie theater and they just couldn't resist the snow. How are you all enjoying the snow?
It's amazing. It's so fun.
Is it cold? You actually have on shorts. Are you cold?
Now I am.
Yeah. And when you all came out of the movie theater and you all saw this snow, what did you all think about it?
I haven't seen snow like this in a minute. Well, I have in Texas, but it hasn't here. I haven't seen snow in a while because I haven't been here in a while.
Wow. Thank you, Kaden. Awesome, awesome. And I actually spoke to the Chesapeake Public Works Department earlier today. They tell me they'll have several crews and trucks out on the roads throughout the night into the early morning hours, putting salt on the major roads and highways here in Chesapeake. But for now, live in Chesapeake, I'm Leondra, News 3. One man dead, 2 other men sent to the hospital. We don't know what led up to the shooting, who pulled the trigger, but neighbors I spoke to who did not want to speak on camera, they tell me that they were pretty shaken up. Just yesterday, 24 hours ago, there was a shooting here on this same road, here in this same apartment complex, where a woman, she was hit by a stray bullet. Yes, Kurt, everyone is out safe. I just actually spoke to the battalion chief, Glenn Williams, and he gave me a quick update. He tells me that 2 people were sent to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries and that 32 people, unfortunately, have been displaced and no longer have a home. But just take a look here behind me. Crews are still here on scene after putting out that intense apartment fire. A teenage boy was actually shot, and the father of that teen actually alerted us to this shooting. That's when we rushed over here to talk to neighbors. One neighbor I spoke to who did not want to appear on camera tells me that her car was shot into. As you can see, there's a bullet hole right here in this white Honda sedan. She says the bullet had actually went into this passenger side into her car. She says at the time of the shooting, she was actually in her apartment resting. She says when she heard about 5 gunshots, that's when she says that she ducked down to the ground. So far, we know that at least 2 people have been shot. They've been taken to the hospital with serious injuries. Now, just a few steps away from me are dorm rooms, dining halls. Let me just step out of the way here just so you can see a look behind me. I've counted at least 20 police officers, probably even more here on the scene, but several officers here on the scene. An Old Dominion University spokesperson tells me that the suspect is still at large. Tonight, we begin with one of our top stories. Tributes are continuing to pour in for former President Jimmy Carter. Carter died Sunday afternoon at the age of 100 years old. All right, nice sunshine tomorrow. That makes for a nice beach day, or, you all want to take a nice walk outside.
That's going to be great.
Absolutely, I agree. Well, thank you, Patrick. Thank you all so much for joining us tonight at News 3. Be sure to join us tomorrow morning for more news and weather. Have a great night. Well, thousands of people are here at Harbor Fest. It's very active and lively here. Just take a look here behind me. Several ships out here on the water. And if you actually come out here sometime this weekend, you can actually take a free tour on one of these ships. I'm actually on one of the ships myself here with the captain. So, Michael, tell me about this ship and its importance to the Harbor Fest. Tasty. Now, a dozen restaurants here in downtown Norfolk are participating in Restaurant Weekend, offering deals and specials that you normally wouldn't see, including here at Tappick Local on Granby Street. Now, Tappick Local says despite the cold weather, people are still coming in.
It was bad.
That's what one resident says he heard in the early morning hours when gunshots ring out between an undercover Virginia Beach police officer and a group, including 2 teenagers who were later arrested.
It came out right here. We got stuck in the other door. They were back and forth, back and forth. They had the canine dogs out here.
Derek, a resident on Commonwealth Place, showed me surveillance from his Ring doorbell camera. A heavy police presence in the early morning hours. His doorbell camera shows an officer searching for evidence with a flashlight in hand. Police say an undercover officer was conducting surveillance regarding an auto theft when several suspects fired numerous gunshots at that officer. Police say the officer fired back from inside his vehicle and then drove off.
Why do we have two 16-year-olds with guns out at 2 in the morning?
That's a big question.
You know, where's the parental oversight?
The officer nor the teens were injured.
Do you know how many shots were fired?
You know, I believe it was in excess of 20, but
Between both parties?
you know, the officer fired a minimal number of rounds in the vehicle. There was a plethora of gunfire that we have heard on audio that occurred outside the vehicle.
Residents say shots were fired across the street.
Employees who work in this office building tell me that stray bullets hit this glass window that is now boarded up.
It affected this building, these windows right here, and then over here on this side here, the stray bullets.
Another resident tells me his car was shot at.
This one right here went in, and this one right here, it hit and ended up here.
Oh, wow.
Through the tail light.
2 teens were arrested, but police say they are looking for more suspects.
We did recover 2 guns last night, so there are some companion gun charges for those 2 individuals, but there's also some outstanding individuals. It wasn't just those 2 involved. The streets talk. Someone is talking about this, and someone has a very good idea of who these other individuals were involved.
Police say they are working diligently to find the additional suspects. In Virginia Beach, I'm Leondra Head, News 3.
It was a nightmare. He was definitely the slumlord from.
Samantha Feely, a former tenant, lived in this house more than a year ago.
He called me a lover and told me that I don't pay my bills like other white people do. I had black roommates, so that was a problem with him. So.
Heather Roquette has now been living here for about a year and says she pays $1,500 a month in rent.
If you look at that window over here, there's no windowsill. There's never been a windowsill. And the wood paneling is coming off. Mice come in through there. Cold air constantly comes through there.
But she says she stopped paying rent when things in the house went unfixed.
This was all broken when I moved in. If you look at the stove is duct taped together at the top, and this is falling off. When I moved in, he told me that the HVAC system did not work, that he was going to get it fixed. And the first couple of months I paid rent, I kept asking him about it.
Merriman owns more than 60 rental properties on the peninsula. According to the Department of Justice, he was charged with interfering with housing rights, aggravated identity theft, and theft of government money. Court documents say Merriman made racist remarks towards tenants. Feely says she fell behind on rent during the pandemic and says Merriman sent her this text with racial slurs. Court documents say Merriman used his tenant's identity to get thousands of dollars in rent relief benefits, something Feely says happened to her without her knowing.
He stole my identity and used my signature to apply for rent relief funds during the pandemic. I was called in probably about 6 months ago to give my signature to the FBI agents, and they were able to tell right then and there I wasn't the one that applied.
We went to another one of Merriman's rental properties. 24-year-old Felix Marigalato took us through the house he rents out for $1,500 a month. He doesn't speak English, so we use a translator to communicate.
Have you told the landlord? What does he say?
He tells me that he is always going to come to fix it.
But he says nothing has been fixed. He also tells me the shower does not work.
Sí, me baño con una cubeta.
Yes, I bathe with a bucket.
Merriman is also being charged with wire fraud, threats to injure, theft of government money, and making false statements to the housing department. We reached out to Merriman requesting a jailhouse interview to hear his side. We are still waiting to hear back from him. I'm Leondra Head, News 3. The mother of 1-year-old Symphony Covington says that her and her family have experienced trauma after her daughter was accidentally shot by another sibling.
Noah shot my daughter. Who's Noah? Noah's my 3-year-old son. Yeah, he shot Symphony. Accidentally shot Symphony. Noah is only 3, and he is also mildly autistic. He did not know what he was doing, and there should have never been a gun in my house in the first place.
Kanisha Tyler says her 14-year-old son was arrested in connection to the shooting. Hampton police say a teen is charged with 1 count of possession of a firearm by a juvenile.
Elijah is my son that is incarcerated, my 14-year-old son. He's not 15. People think that he's the shooter, that he shot her, and he did not.
Do you know how the gun got in your house or how your son got a gun?
I do not. I don't know. And he's still incarcerated, so that's not really something that I would even want to talk about because I don't want to further incriminate my son.
As Tyler holds her 1-year-old daughter in her hand, she says her daughter, Symphony, was shot in the shoulder.
My foot had just hit the bottom step in my house, and I just heard this loud noise. By the time I reached the top of the stairs, my daughter was screaming, oh my God, Bunny got shot.
She says a neighbor took her and her daughter to the hospital.
It wasn't until then that I realized that she was shot in her shoulder, because all I seen was a hole. My baby had a hole in her, and like fragments of her on me, on my clothes.
She says May 28, 2024, the day her daughter was shot inside of their house, brings back too many bad memories. Her and her family haven't slept there since and have been staying in a hotel.
My boys, they keep saying they don't want to go back to that house. My 7-year-old calls it the devil house.
If you would like to help out the family, we have a link up on our website at WTKR.com. I'm Leondra Head, News 3. 54-year-old Alonzo Hardin Jr. now sits behind bars after he was arrested when police say they seized 156 pounds of methamphetamine from his car. Police say that he had the intent to distribute. Now we're hearing directly from him. Why are you behind bars?
I've been charged with several cases, drug cases.
What kind of drugs?
Well, I'm not. Is my attorney here?
No. On November 7th, Homeland Security, Virginia Beach police officers, and a drug K-9 searched 54-year-old Alonzo Hardin's car on Bunny Road. Officials say a K-9 alerted police to 2 large duffel bags in the trunk of the car. Police found 156 pounds of meth valued at $350,000.
It wasn't even a traffic stop. I booked a hotel room where I was in the parking lot where I was sitting, and they came up harassing me. There was no probable cause, and it was illegal search and seizure.
Detectives say the K-9 detected drugs in Hardin's car, prompting a search. As I spoke to Hardin in jail, he became defensive.
I didn't have any drugs in my car, ma'am. I'll keep telling you that.
Court documents say police were alerted to Hardin due to drug trafficking trends in Hampton Roads.
Were you selling drugs at all?
No, I was not selling drugs.
Had you ever sold drugs before?
I don't need to answer those questions, ma'am, without my attorney.
Court documents also say Hardin worked and lived in St. Paul, Minnesota.
What brought you to the area? Because you're not from this area.
Why do everybody come here?
Why were you here?
It doesn't matter was I here. That's the same question they asked me. You sound like the police. I don't have to answer that question. I told them the same thing. I don't have to answer any of your questions.
All right, so you don't want to talk about anything from that day?
Not without my lawyer present.
All right.
You have a nice day.
Virginia Beach Police Chief Paul Newdigate released a statement saying, quote, "This seizure represents a major step forward in disrupting the methamphetamine distribution networks operating in Hampton Roads." Hardin is facing several drug and gun-related charges, including possession of a concealed firearm. If found guilty, Hardin faces a minimum of 10 years in prison for possession with the intent to distribute. Hardin will appear in court on February 21st. In Virginia Beach, I'm Leondra Head, News 3. Now, these court documents reveal that the infant unfortunately died from an overdose. We went to the address of where Alveda Haskins lives, according to court documents, and her 71-year-old fiance, Joseph Johnson Jr., invited us in.
They got her for second-degree murder.
They got her for what? Second-degree murder?
Second-degree murder.
What happened?
Her granddaughter passed away in his house.
Police say the baby died several months ago in April of 2024. At the time of the death, it was considered undetermined. But now, medical examiners are ruling this as a homicide. Court documents say the infant died of an overdose of antipsychotic medication that was prescribed to the grandmother. The medicine is used to treat mood disorders, according to court documents. But Johnson says otherwise.
She ain't had no medication to give the baby. She gave the baby a little bit of NyQuil to break that cold up. That's what she did. And that's all she gave the baby. A little bit of NyQuil.
That's it?
That's it.
On April 22nd, 2024, Norfolk police were called to Haskins' apartment for the report of an unresponsive infant.
Well, see, the baby passed away in her sleep.
Here?
Yeah, here.
Were you here that day?
Yeah, I was here right here on this bed,
And where was the baby?
on my bed in the room.
And what happened that day?
She brought the baby to me, said the baby wasn't responding.
Yeah.
So I tried to get the baby CPR, but the baby already passed.
Haskins was arrested on January 1st.
And her daughter took a warrant out on her. And I got pulled over the 1st of January, and it took her.
Oh, you were driving in?
I was driving, yeah,
So was there a warrant out for her arrest?
They said it was a warrant out for her arrest, but her daughter did it. Her daughter took charges out on her. Now she can't get no bond or nothing.
Haskins is currently being held in the Norfolk City Jail without bond. Her bond hearing is scheduled for January 8th. In Norfolk, I'm Leondra, News 3.